Marcus Rashford's Spanish adventure is coming to an end, and a new chapter may be about to begin. Mikel Arteta is reportedly preparing a raid on Real Madrid for one of their standout names, while Unai Emery is emerging as a leading candidate in the race to replace Carrick at Manchester United. There is plenty more developing behind the scenes, and in today's episode we'll break it all down. If you enjoy the content, aim is to reach 300 likes on this video, and I'll be back tomorrow with more transfer updates. Let's get straight into it. Despite a return of 12 goals and 13 assists this season while on loan at Barcelona, the club are still unwilling to pay €30 million for a permanent deal. That decision says more about Marcus Rashford's situation than any statistic possibly could. Barcelona did what they typically do. Took him on loan, assessed his impact, and then quietly stepped away from a long-term commitment. It's not that Rashford failed. He didn't. But rather that Barcelona are aggressively cutting their wage bill, and a €30 million fee for a winger approaching 29 simply doesn't fit their current financial strategy. From a financial standpoint, the logic is straightforward. Rashford worked well as a short-term loan option, but turning that into a permanent investment is a completely different matter. As a result, he is expected to return to Manchester United this summer, where there is reportedly little enthusiasm for reintegrating him into the squad. That situation has opened the door for Juventus. The Turin club, currently fighting for a Champions League spot in Serie A, are searching for an attacking profile that offers both pace and physical presence. Rashford fits that description well on paper. He is quick, technically versatile, and capable of playing across the front line. Italian reports suggest the interest is genuine, but as always, the biggest obstacle is financial. His reported €11 million annual salary is beyond Juventus' current capacity to fully absorb, which is why discussions are focused on a loan structure, potentially with an option or obligation to buy, alongside partial wage contributions from Manchester United. In effect, United would be subsidizing part of his departure, essentially paying to move him on. Interestingly, they appear open to such an arrangement. That detail is significant. When a club is willing to continue paying part of a player's wages after sending him abroad, it usually signals one thing: he is no longer part of their long-term plans in any meaningful way. For Manchester United, this is less about a transfer and more about clearing space. For Juventus, it is an opportunity to acquire a high-profile player at reduced risk. For Rashford, it could represent a third top-flight experience in as many seasons and another attempt to reset his career, this time in Italy. Whether the deal happens will depend entirely on how far United are prepared to go with wage contributions. If an agreement is reached, Rashford moves to Turin. If not, the uncertainty continues into another transfer window, with the same questions resurfacing again and again. Meanwhile, Real Madrid have set an asking price of around £52 million for Eduardo Camavinga, according to reports from Caught Offside. Arsenal and Manchester United are among the clubs already monitoring the situation closely, while others are still assessing their options. At Madrid, Camavinga remains highly valued, but more as a utility player than a guaranteed starter. The concern in Spain is that talented, versatile players who do not receive consistent minutes can stagnate. At 23, spending too much time on the bench, even at Real Madrid, can slow development and impact long-term value. His contract runs until 2029, giving Madrid full control over negotiations, but there is little incentive to delay a decision if his role remains limited. Arsenal and Manchester United are both said to be taking a serious approach to the situation. Both clubs have struggled to find the right midfield balance in recent seasons, Arsenal lacking resistance under pressure despite their control, and United dealing with the opposite problem: plenty of physicality, but not always the calmest presence on the ball. Eduardo Camavinga brings both traits together in a single profile. He can receive under pressure in tight spaces without panic, turn away in one touch, and still has the stamina to cover the entire pitch from box to box. That blend of control and athleticism is exactly why so many top clubs are paying attention. Chelsea and Tottenham are currently showing measured interest, monitoring his situation without making any concrete move just yet. Paris Saint-Germain are also part of the discussion, although that interest feels more like respectful acknowledgement of a French talent than a fully committed push. No official bids have been submitted so far, but once the summer window properly opens, offers in the 50 to 55 million euros range are expected to surface. While the major clubs are preparing their financial firepower, here's a reminder of a much better deal available right now. A like on this video costs absolutely nothing. In today's transfer market, that's basically daylight robbery. Some of you are watching in silence, holding on to likes as if they'll convert into shares of Arsenal or a signed Camavinga shirt by the end of the season. Spoiler, they won't. So don't wait until deadline day, hit the like button now. The real irony in all of this is that Real Madrid aren't looking to sell Camavinga because they doubt his ability. It's more about timing and development. The club recognized that he may benefit from a change of environment, and right now, England looks like the most natural destination. Not just because of financial strength, but because of the playing style, fast, vertical, and physically demanding through midfield. That's an environment where Camavinga wouldn't struggle. He would likely excel. The bigger question is his role if a move actually happens. Does he arrive as a guaranteed starter, or does he begin as a high-value rotation option? Clubs like Arsenal have been extremely precise in recent transfer windows, with signings either becoming immediate starters or evolving into important squad depth. Camavinga, however, doesn't feel like the type of player who would comfortably accept a secondary role for long. If a move like this does materialize, especially to Arsenal, it could do more than just improve the squad. It might subtly reshape the team's identity. Not because of star power, but because of what he offers. A midfielder capable of breaking opposition lines while also recovering defensively in the same phase of play. Of course, there's also the possibility that it becomes another one of those links that fades away and is later remembered as "remember when they were in for him?" Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain have also been active in their own way, holding discussions with representatives of Gabriel Martinelli. That alone says a lot about their direction this summer. According to reports, PSG scouts have been attending matches more frequently, focusing less on raw statistics and more on something harder to measure: mental strength under pressure. In simple terms, PSG want to understand how Martinelli responds when games actually matter. And for anyone who has watched him at Arsenal, the answer is fairly clear. He is the kind of player who rises in big moments rather than shrinking from them. Inside PSG, the message is clear. They are no longer building a squad based on collecting big names or commercial appeal. In the post-Mbappé era, the focus has shifted toward defined roles, tactical discipline, and players who actively fit a system rather than just occupy space in it. Martinelli fits that profile perfectly with his intensity, movement off the ball, and consistent attacking threat. For Arsenal, however, this is more background noise than genuine alarm. The project Mikel Arteta has built is based on continuity and structure, and Martinelli is a key part of that system. Removing him would not simply mean losing a winger. It would disrupt the entire balance of the left side that has been carefully developed over several seasons. The real question is whether PSG will move from observation to serious financial action. Their summer strategy is still taking shape, with internal negotiations and potential departures likely to define how aggressive they can be in the market. Right now, this is still interest rather than a formal offer. And in football terms, interest is a currency that loses value very quickly. In the transfer market, if you don't act, you get priced out, or someone else simply steps in and takes the deal. Christian Romero is currently being viewed as the captain of a sinking ship at Tottenham, and reports suggest the club are already considering their exit options. According to Caught Offside, Spurs would be willing to sanction his departure for a fee in the region of £60 to £65 million this summer. With 3 years still left on his contract, that stance is highly revealing. This situation is not really about Romero as an individual. It reflects the wider state of the club, with Tottenham reportedly sitting 18th in the Premier League and battling relegation. The hierarchy, however, is already planning for the summer as if dropping into the Championship is not a disaster scenario, but rather the starting point for a rebuild. Selling your captain while fighting for survival is not just panic. It signals that a major structural reset is already underway. Atletico Madrid, managed by Diego Simeone, have been monitoring Romero for months and are now said to be ready to intensify their pursuit, particularly if Spurs are relegated. The logic is simple: relegation changes everything. It weakens the selling club's leverage, reduces the player's patience, and turns a £60 million valuation into more of a ceiling than a starting point. Manchester United have also been linked with interest in Romero, who is seen as a strong defensive option if he becomes available. However, United themselves are currently focused elsewhere, particularly on securing a permanent manager. At the same time, players like Matthijs de Ligt remain under uncertain evaluation, while discussions around Everton's Jared Branthwaite are also ongoing. Their approach at the moment looks less like decisive recruitment and more like carefully reviewing options without knowing exactly which direction they will take. What stands out most is this: Tottenham are openly prepared to consider selling their captain while still fighting for survival. This isn't speculation from outside noise. It is the club's own position. Whatever happens between now and the end of the season, North London is heading toward a very turbulent summer. Meanwhile, Unai Emery's work at Aston Villa has been nothing short of transformative. Since arriving in 2022, Villa have finished in the top 7 in every full season under his management. Consistently, not occasionally. Now they are pushing for a top 5 finish and another Champions League qualification, a reality that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago when survival was the main objective. That success has not gone unnoticed. According to reports, intermediaries are actively promoting Emery to several elite clubs, with Manchester United among those who have been contacted. At the same time, names like Julian Nagelsmann are also being discussed, showing that United are keeping their options wide open. Real Madrid are also reportedly monitoring Emery, as the club continue to operate with Alvaro Arbeloa in a temporary capacity while assessing long-term managerial solutions. At United, the situation becomes even more complex. Michael Carrick is currently in an interim role, and there are reports highlighting that no manager has accumulated more Premier League points since his appointment. That statistic strengthens the argument for continuity and stability within the club. However, Emery represents something very different. He is known for building structure where there is chaos, introducing discipline without removing attacking identity, and creating teams that function with clear tactical coherence. That is exactly what Manchester United have lacked for years. Still, there is a natural debate. United's identity has historically been built on attacking, front-foot football, while Emery's philosophy is more controlled, structured, and system-driven. The question the club may eventually have to answer is not just about who the better manager is, but what kind of identity they actually want moving forward: recognizable tradition or consistent results. Given what has unfolded over the past few years, Manchester United's identity has arguably already been eroded to such an extent that the debate about what they should become may have effectively resolved itself. The structure, the style, and the consistency that once defined the club no longer feel as clear-cut as they used to, leaving more questions than answers about the direction forward. On a lighter note, while football intermediaries are busy pushing managerial candidates across Europe, YouTube's algorithm is doing its own version of recruitment, trying to push these videos into your feed. And judging by the fact you're still here, it might actually be more effective than Villa's defending on an off day. Since you've made it this far, it might be worth officially sticking around, subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. That's the only guaranteed way we cross paths again, and unlike football contracts, it won't cost you anything like £20 million. Back at Aston Villa, the situation is being presented with calm assurance. A contract running through to 2029, public backing from the board, and another confirmed season of European football, all project stability. On paper, it looks secure and well managed. But in football, that sense of certainty can shift quickly the moment a serious offer arrives, especially one that tests how strong that conviction really is. Unai Emery currently finds himself in a position where his value is widely recognized across European football. His impact at Villa is obvious. His reputation is growing, and interest from elite clubs reflects that reality. Yet the irony is that the one party who benefits most from his success is also the one who may eventually face the hardest decision, whether to keep him and continue building, or allow him to leave if a bigger opportunity emerges elsewhere.